supplier group. The window we're in, March and April, is a critical time period. The Treasury Department is considering a request from two associations representing auto parts suppliers for programs totaling $25.5 billion in aid. An Obama administration official confirmed that the team is monitoring the supplier crisis closely, but has not decided what actions to take. The crisis facing the parts suppliers has become a primary concern in recent weeks. The stock market remains up about 72 points. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news. General Electric is quick on the uptake here. They've announced that they don't anticipate any tangible response or effect from the downgrade from Standard & Poor's. In fact, their stock went up 10% in the last hour. Standard & Poor's, to clarify everything now, revised GE's credit rating from AAA down to AA stable. So the market is responding positively and is now up 90 points. You'll recall the airplane crash of the Boeing 777 in Heathrow. The plane went down just short of the runway. No one was killed. However, federal transportation safety officials in the U.S. now have issued an urgent recommendation calling for a redesign of a component on some Boeing 777 engines. The NTSB said that a Rolls-Royce engine component played a role in the January 2008 crash of a BA 777 near Heathrow. Both the plane's engines lost power as it approached the runway. 13 people were injured. 10 months later, in November of 2008, a Delta Airlines 777 was in cruise over Montana when it lost engine power. That one, too, had Rolls-Royce engines. That plane landed safely after pilots performed a procedure developed in response to the Heathrow crash. In both cases, the safety board said a buildup of ice on a heat exchanger restricted the flow of fuel to the Rolls-Royce engines, reducing power. According to the NTSB, with two of these rollback events occurring within a year, we think there's a high probability of something similar happening again. According to the FAA, an order has gone out to operators of 777s that use the Rolls-Royce engines to revise flight manuals to give pilots procedures to follow in certain cold weather conditions. The cold weather condition procedure was followed by Delta over Montana. It requires a steep descent to help restart the engine. That, of course, was impossible with the British airplane, which was at an altitude of about 75 feet. Rolls-Royce has indicated that they're working on a new component that they expect to have ready within 12 months that they hope will significantly address the problem. So as of right now, the NTSB has stopped short of recommending that planes with Rolls-Royce engines be grounded. However, they are ordering the implementation of the new procedures. There's been another earthquake in that same area in Chengdu in China. This is a 5.0. It struck today. This is the same place that was devastated by a massive quake last year. This one occurred at 4:25 p.m. local time. It was about 120 miles northeast of the capital of Chengdu, which is the capital of Sichuan province. No reports of any injuries or damage. There was another earthquake last night off the coast of Costa Rica in Central America. This was a pretty big one. It was a 5.7. No reports of any damage or injuries. However, there was another earthquake in the Atlantic Ocean off of San Juan, Puerto Rico this morning. This was a 5.0. It was about 70 miles north of San Juan. Again, no reports of any damage or injuries there. In Australia, beaches along the country's northeastern coast were blackened today by a toxic cocktail of oil and fertilizer that was spilled from a cargo ship that had encountered problems with Typhoon Hamish that we reported on yesterday. Large slicks of oil were washing up on the shores of Moreton Island and along the beaches of the Sunshine Coast. This after 31 containers of ammonium nitrate toppled from the decks of a ship called the Pacific Adventurer in wild seas caused by Hamish yesterday. As the cargo fell in huge swells caused by the tropical storm, it punctured the ship's hull, releasing 30 tons of the ship's fuel oil into Moreton Bay, which is near Brisbane. So a slick of 5.5 kilometers long, which is about 3 miles long, and 500 meters wide, was washing on to populous tourist beaches today. Experts fear that the fertilizer, which is a nutrient-rich chemical, could cause damaging algae blooms, suffocating fish, and killing natural habitats. The Australian EPA said it had begun cleanup operations and was treating oil-affected wildlife in the area. The chairman of Allstate made a speech to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and Tom Wilson said that the insurance industry, which is currently regulated by the states, should be put into a similar pool of regulation as other large financial firms. Wilson said every large financial organization in the country should be in this pool. I think our industry should be subject to federal regulation. Wilson also said that although municipal bond insurers are not that large, they can have a big impact on financial markets. That's to put it mildly. Wilson said, I believe they should be in the pool of regulatory reform. He indicated that Congress should take a staged approach to reorganizing the U.S. financial regulatory system. He said Congress should name a systemic risk regulator first, but then wait and give it real responsibilities, the regulator, until lawmakers streamline the other financial regulators. Berkshire Hathaway is set to start up a new Lloyd's syndicate. This is according to Reinsurance Magazine. Reinsurance Magazine is saying the unconfirmed rumor is that Berkshire, which already owns Gen Re, plans to hire a number of former Heritage employees to lead the syndicate. One of the names mentioned includes Nick Jones, the former active underwriter at Heritage, as well as deputy active underwriter Andrew Rowland. Neither Berkshire or the individuals, Jones or Rowland, could be contacted for comment. This Madoff hysteria is such that the American cable TV channels are following his every move. They now have live cameras tracking his silver SUV as he goes from his $7 million penthouse to the federal court. About an hour ago, there was a very interesting article that appeared on Bloomberg written by Pat Weschler and David Glovin. I'm going to quote from it liberally. It's quite interesting. They talk about what life may be like for Madoff in prison when he leaves his $7 million penthouse. According to the authors Weschler and Glovin, Madoff, scheduled to plead guilty today, which he did, may have to fight off prison inmates who want to squeeze him for money or blame him for the Wall Street crash. Larry Levine, who served 10 years in federal prisons for securities fraud and now advises convicts on serving time behind bars, said Madoff is not going to be real popular. All the guys in jail will have wives or parents who are losing their homes or their jobs, or who can't send money to them so they can buy cigarettes. Everybody's going to be blaming Bernie. After hunting down victims himself for decades, Madoff will now become a victim. This is according to a gentleman named Park Dietz, who's a psychiatrist at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA. According to Dr. Dietz, in the beginning he will be besieged by mail that will be threatening and accusatory. There will be people trying to scam him and people who think he's hiding money. There will be inmates